All right. Hey everybody, name is Bricky, if you're feeling fancy, I hope you're having a great day today. I'm finally back. I'm mostly no longer sick. I get a bit of a cough and my nose is still a little bit like that, but I got my energy back. I'm working a little bit more. I can actually kind of move and breathe a lot better than before. I don't have just one nose clogged or one ear congested, which is it's a gift from God. Thank God for that, because those are just the absolute worst. But anywho, today is actually not a gaming video, as you can obviously tell. Today I'm actually reviewing the movie John Wick 3, or John Wick Chapter 3, Parabellum, which I think means like give them war or bring war, or something along those lines. Something about war, I'm pretty sure. Whatever Parabellum means. There's a statement for it, whatever. But I saw the movie last night, opening screening, the whole deal, and I wanted to go ahead and get my thoughts on it because I occasionally like to do movie reviews on movies that I was excited for, or at least someone enjoyed. Like I saw Detective Pikachu a bit ago. It's all right. It's cute, but it's not like very good. But it's cute, so that's good. It's definitely cute. That's for certain. Take your girl or your man or whatever, or your dog, and they'll audibly on the theater, but that's about all you're gonna get. Ryan Reynolds is pretty funny though. Anyway, this isn't about Pikachu. This is about John Wick, because I am of course, huge fan of the John Wick series, because John Wick is, in fact, one of the best action trilogies of all time. It's not just a new fad thing right now. Some of the action in these movies are legitimately breathtaking and fantastic. The first movie had a plot that was very simple, but surprisingly energetic and enjoyable. The whole idea of the dog, when I first saw the trailer, I thought that's just ridiculous. That's so stupid. But when I saw the movie, of course, it made a whole lot more sense. And the entire revenge tale of the first movie made a ton more sense. The second movie's plot is a little bit more muddled and a little bit less interesting. However, the action set pieces of it are still very good, and I still consider John Wick 2 to be a phenomenal film, even if it doesn't quite live up to John Wick 1. John Wick 3, I'd say, is smack dab in the middle. I'd say it's better than 2, not quite as good as 1. So what makes it fantastic? Because this is a absolutely fantastic film. Well, it's the romance, of course. No, it's the action. It's the action scenes. The action scenes are legitimately incredible, and some of the things they do in these scenes are mind-boggling. Absolutely mind-boggling. The choreography is incredible. The set design, as well as the long wide shots and long takes, are fantastic. There's a part around this middle of the movie where they use dogs, and the dog scene is just so, I can't believe they did this. It seems like it would be such a pain to do it properly, but they did it. And it was absolutely fantastic with what they were able to do with working with dogs in this situation. Combine that, there was even some stuff with horses, and you had all of the more nuanced things. Lots of gun work, of course. And I like how they really put into effort the different guns that are used. When a pistol fires, it sounds like a pistol. When a rifle fires, it sounds like a rifle. When a shotgun fires, it makes a nice thunk like an actual shotgun, or not much louder, not like a thunk like a grenade launcher. Those make those very fun thunk noises, but it has a lot of legitimate punch to it, and the different weapons really feel that way, and it makes it very enjoyable and much more interesting. And sorry, I think my phone kept on bugging me bad. Okay, I fixed that now. Anywho, the sound effects and most of the sound mixing is pretty phenomenal. The set pieces and where they go, the different areas that they fight in, are very nice. It's not just a bunch of back alleys. It's got a lot of good, interesting, well-lit areas. And also, I thoroughly liked some of the more creative ways to challenge John Wick, because eventually having a bunch of goons with guns can get a little bit old. And while it worked extremely well for the first movie because it was setting the stage of how much of a badass John Wick was, it's great having a nice little twist on certain things. Like, oh, these are goons with guns, but they've got this instead, and that changes it. Or in a fist fight, these guys have this, which really changes it. And it makes it much more fresh than just kind of recycling the same headshot, 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 headshot that we're used to in John Wick. Now, the story isn't quite as good. However, the story is a lot more simpler than the second movie, and I guess a lot more simpler than the first movie. The first movie was an understandable revenge tale. The third movie is pretty simple. John Wick, if you haven't seen the last two movies, small spoiler, is excommunicado. He's on the run, and he's being hunted by every assassin known to man because he has a giant bounty on his head. So in reality, the situation is pretty simple. It's about John Wick trying to escape and does some other things down the line. But it isn't the most Shakespeare of stories. It's very simple. It's serviceable. It's made to particularly place these awesome action set pieces in front of you. I would have liked a more, I don't know, emotionally driven story like the first one, because the first one, even though you kind of think, oh, you know, they killed his dog and now he's gonna commit genocide, you kind of accept it and you kind of are okay with it because you understand the full ramifications of what happened. In this one, it's more about things are happening to John Wick. John Wick isn't making things happen, at least not always. They do it a little bit more, and John Wick has some more awesome, I'm gonna go and screw people over and fuck shit up a lot more than the second movie. However, it really, really kind of came to a full front in this movie, and it showed all of the awesome, it provided a place for all the awesome action scenes to take place in, basically. It's not as 0 to 100 the entire movie like, say, Speed, also with Keanu Reeves, or Mad Max. There's a small section in the center that slows down a little bit, and that was probably my least favorite part of the movie, not because I need a bunch of people dying all the time to make it interesting, but that's where they focused more on story, and the story was just a little bit not as good as the rest. So a little bit in the Act 2, it's not quite as good as the rest. However, Act 1, it will immediately show you what you're in for. Within the first 10 minutes, you know the movie you're getting into, and it is amazing, as is the third act. The only other real issue I have with the film is with some of the characters during fights. Sometimes, you know, during their big, long, like, fight scenes, a character you would assume probably could have taken a shot or probably could have gone up a little bit faster than they did, and therefore they would have probably been able to take John Wick out, but they didn't because the action choreography requires them to be stunned for a bit or to muddle with their weapon or something like that. And that's acceptable because I would 5 million times rather have some of those scenes than shaky cam or way too many cuts and bullshit. I would much rather have these nice long take wide angles than actually having just, you know, like Taken 2 levels of BS, right? But you do notice it sometimes. The only other gripe I had was that you do have a little bit of that realism kind of going away, like at the end of the second movie, where you're like, you're stretching my ability to believe that a bit. It's not as bad as the second movie, but you're kind of stretching it a little bit. I'd back up just a tiny bit. Also, the main villain of the movie is a little bit less than interesting. She kind of speaks with that, like, I'm better than you and deal with it, son, kind of drawl to her that is really not interesting, or at least I've seen it a million times before. I've seen the lady with the umbrella who's all fancy and important walk around and be like, you can't do that. That's against the whatever. Go home, die, kind of thing. And I'm like, all right, I've seen it in a million movies already. She wasn't too interesting. She served her point, but she wasn't like an amazing villain or anything. She wasn't as good as she wasn't really as good as the last two villains. I liked Santiago, was that his name in the second movie? I thought he was okay. You know, he wasn't the best, but he was better than her, at least. And the Russian guy in the first one was pretty great. Besides, one thing you should look out for, just in case. It doesn't ruin the movie, but it's kind of funny. When they had the scene with the dogs, with lots of dogs, not in there for quite often, but in the dog scenes, I was kind of thinking like, hey, these gunmen fighting the dogs are looking a little bit chunkier than normal. They could possibly have dog-proof stuff underneath that so they don't die. You know, they might have a dog-proof suit underneath that thing they're currently wearing. The guys that were attacked by the dogs looked a little bit chunkier, and you might notice that, and still, I would much rather have that than not have the amazing action that we got. So it's just those kinds of things where, yeah, you have to suspend your disbelief a little bit. And some of the things you might notice, like, that guy probably could have done it, but you don't care. Because if you didn't have that, and you didn't have those slight teensy things, we wouldn't have easily one of the best action movie trilogies of all time. And the third movie is absolutely phenomenal. Not as good as one because the story isn't as good, but the fight scenes are as good, if not better, than the first and second movie. I would say even better because they add a little bit of new things to the mix. I don't know if anything can actually get to the club scene level in the first movie. Actually, I don't know. Some of the scenes I would maybe call could be better than the club scene, but it's because if it was the club scene again, it wouldn't be as interesting because we've kind of already seen it. So it's more like the club scene was more like shock value, like, whoa, this movie does not mess around in the first movie. And I don't know, it's kind of hard to explain, but it was more the first time seeing it is what left such a lasting impact. Where the fight scenes may be better in the third movie, that first punch isn't quite as there. But it's not saying that there isn't punch, because, oh, trust me, there is plenty of punch. There is plenty of punch. It's a great movie. It's a great movie. Great movie. I highly recommend seeing it. If you haven't seen the first two John Wicks, I don't know what you're doing. Go see them. They're great. Even if you don't like action movies, you should be impressed enough as it is. I think it's phenomenal, and I would highly recommend seeing it very soon. And yeah, that's it for me. Thank you very much for watching, everybody. It was a pleasure having you here. Name's Brick. Last two videos, or last and next video over here, and I will see you later. All right, bye-bye.